A marriage, a family torn apart by infidelity, by secrets, built in love, destroyed by lies.
Dear Diary, the day I found out that I was my husband's side chick took me completely by surprise. I couldn't believe my eyes. She was definitely his type and everything I was not. She complimented his style while I could barely keep a smile on my face. Between a full time job and raising our twins and then finding out that I was pregnant again, I was beyond tired. He would always tell me that I was so lucky. Lucky that I worked from home and didn't have to sit in the Atlanta heat or deal with this rush hour traffic. He didn't value what I did as his wife. How I managed to always keep the house clean, cook dinner every night, take care of our 3-year-old twin daughters, all while holding down a full time job and going to school. I had a huge plate, and I was wearing myself thin. I could barely find the time or energy to fix myself up. A pair of sweatpants and one of his oversized white tees, that's what I felt most comfortable in. I guess that's where Miss Ashley came in. I had to admit, she was pretty. I mean, if you like that BBL Insta baddie type. It was exhausting for me to even imagine the way she showed up to work every morning with a full face of makeup, edges laid, and not a hair out of place. The first time I met her was at my husband's office Christmas party. I had been working all day and just completed my semester finals. I was exhausted, but I was determined to go to this year's all white office Christmas party with James. I had to. I had to miss last year's party because both twins were sick. James did offer to stay home with us, but at the time, he was up for yet another promotion. His career was advancing quickly, and so was our growing family. I was so proud of him, and I insisted he went on without me, a decision that I would soon regret. So that night, I had to show up for him. After my shower, as I sat doing my hair and makeup, James comes into the bedroom and says, "Bad news, bae. The babysitter had to cancel last minute due to a family emergency." Man, I was crushed. James was already dressed in his all white outfit. My man was looking good. He had on an icy white polo, crisp clean jeans, and a fresh pair of J's that I didn't recognize. Of course, I told him to go ahead without me, but the fact he didn't offer to stay home, that really annoyed me. I noticed it didn't take as much convincing him to go without me this year as it took last year. Seems like he was up and out the door before I knew it. Not long after he was gone, as the twins slept, I sat in front of my vanity, finally, all glammed up and nowhere to go. I decided to call Sasha, our babysitter, and at least offer my prayers as she dealt with her family crisis. To my surprise, Sasha was thoroughly confused and stated that there was no family emergency and that it was Mr. James who called her and stated that we would no longer need her services tonight because the office Christmas party had been canceled. I was fuming. I quickly finished the final touches on my hair and makeup, put on my brand new all white maternity dress, and as soon as Sasha arrived, I paid her double and thanked her for coming to watch the twins. I walked into the ballroom determined not to make a scene. I was already 5 months pregnant, and adding angry black woman to the description was not the look I was going for. I sat in the corner of the room by the front entrance, close to the DJ booth. He was bound to notice me here. I took this opportunity to contemplate. Contemplate why. Why would he not want me to come tonight? And why was he in such a hurry to get here tonight, alone? Only a few minutes had passed before James and I locked eyes. You could have sworn he saw a ghost. He approached me laughing nervously. "Babe, what you doing here?" he asked. "Did the babysitter change her mind?" Okay, so we were playing that game. I decided to play along. "She's not the only babysitter in Atlanta, James. I thought I would surprise you. You look surprised. Are you surprised, James?" I said with the biggest smirk on my face, trying to hide my true emotions. Not surprised, he stuttered nervously, but happy. Just happy you were able to make it after all. He looked around anxiously, as if he was looking for something or someone. The food here is awesome, bae. He managed to sound sincere. Let me go get you a plate. Sit tight, I'll be right back. I was livid. My woman's intuition was on high alert. And child, when he left me sitting in the corner of that room by myself for far too long, I looked around to find him, and there he was. There they were. White jeans, white shirts, and matching all white J's. Adorable. They were lapping it up by the buffet table while he piled up a plate of food. I imagined him telling her that he was piling it on for his oversized wife. He probably forgot to mention that I was pregnant again, with probably another set of twins. My girlish figure was a thing of the past just because dual births ran in his family. I couldn't stand it, looking at the way he hung on her every word. It was clear he was infatuated with her physical beauty. I hated the way he made her laugh, the way she smiled up at him. Those had to be veneers. Why was she laughing so much? James never said anything that funny, especially not to me. I decided to walk right up to them and break up this little laugh of palooza, trying hard not to let my clear insecurities rise to the surface. I told myself, keep it cute. She was not going to see me sweat. I couldn't let her see me bothered. She may have been his little work wife, but I was his wife, and she needed to keep it in perspective and stay in her place. Her clear flirtation with my husband was so cringe, and his enjoyment of it was even more disrespectful. So I thought it was time I introduced myself, and when I did, it was hard for me to read her reaction, but the next words out of her mouth made it crystal clear. She said, "Oh, I didn't know JJ was married." Didn't know? How could she not know? And please don't get me started on her little pet name for him. That's when I found myself looking directly at James' left hand, which still bared the tan line as he casually put his hands in his pocket. I must have stupid written across my face. Still, I couldn't give either one of them the satisfaction. Yes, JJ and I are happily married with two twin daughters and one on the way, I said proudly as I patted my swollen belly. Wow, that's amazing, she said, clearly annoyed by my presence, and I can feel the turmoil flowing from James. So thick you could cut it with a butcher's knife. She couldn't excuse herself fast enough, and I was wondering how she lasted this long. I took one look at James, and my eyes said it all. He knew not to play with me at this very moment. 6 words: get my coat and let's go, was all the words I could muster up to say to him. I was so angry that I was visibly shaking. Which brings us to today. My relationship with James never recovered after that Christmas party. Our marriage was already in trouble, so the lies he told only invited more issues into our household. Our marriage was never the same. I no longer trusted anything he said, and I questioned his motives behind everything. Our bond that was once unbreakable was now unrecognizable. Our connection began to fade, and the lack of trust opened the door to doubt and welcome insecurities on both ends. Being in the same room with James is when I felt the loneliest. The warm, loving laughter that once filled our home had vanished, replaced by a cold and distant air that chilled me to the bone. There is no communication between us because talking only leads to bitter arguments. We have more of a co parenting roommate situation going on, with each of us sleeping in separate rooms. We both have contemplated the idea of divorce, but neither of us have been brave enough to start the process on the account of our now 5-year old twins and 2-year old son. Every time I would bring up his coworker Ashley, a brief discomfort would cross his eyes, quickly masked by a forced reassurance that there was nothing going on between them. However, it was becoming increasingly harder for him to conceal what I already knew to be true. His feeble attempts to start arguments with me on certain days and times so that he had a reason to leave the house, to go be with her, no doubt, became predictable. The crazy part is, months later, I find myself doing the exact same thing. almost mirroring his actions that he is still too blind to see. Don't get me wrong. I used to yearn for the days when our love felt indestructible, when his eyes held an unwavering devotion to our growing family. But lately, I have begun to find myself filled with so much doubt and uncertainty that my heart no longer yearns for the familiar warmth of my husband's love. It's now been replaced with the desire for someone else. As unsettling as it is to admit, I have found comfort in the presence of someone else. Although I would never cross the line to disrespect the vows I made to James, I cannot help but daydream of what if. Because in the midst of the storm that is my marriage, an unexpected ray of sunshine has found his way into my life in the form of a true friend and an irreplaceable confidant. And his name is Ryan. Forever true, Kelly.
Dear Journal, I never thought I'd be writing something like this. It's funny how life can twist in ways you don't expect. Ashley and I have been together for nearly 8 years now. 8 long years filled with laughter, love, and the kind of comfort you only find with someone who really knows you. But now, something feels off. No, something is off, and I can't shake the feeling that I might be losing her. It started about a year ago, or maybe longer. I noticed she was on her phone more than usual, always quick to hide the screen or claim it was nothing important. I didn't think much of it at first. Everyone gets caught up in their devices. But then, she started working late more often, and her stories didn't always add up. One night, she told me she was going out with some coworkers. I didn't think twice about it, but when I called her to say goodnight, she didn't pick up. Later, she texted me, saying she'd left her phone in the car. That might be true, but it didn't sit right with me. Ashley's never been one to be careless with her things. I'm not proud of this, but I went through her phone when she fell asleep one evening. I know. It's a breach of trust, but I couldn't stop myself. I didn't find anything that screamed cheater, but there were some texts to someone named JJ that were vague. They weren't inappropriate, but the tone was different. There was something familiar in the way she talked to him. It wasn't work-related, that's for sure. This whole thing is tearing me up. It's been well over a year, and I continue to notice little things here and there. I want to confront her, but every time I try, I freeze. What if I'm wrong? What if she's not doing anything wrong, and I'm just overthinking everything? But then, what if I'm right? I don't want to be the paranoid, jealous boyfriend. But I also can't keep ignoring the signs. I don't know what to do. The trust we built over these years feels like it's hanging by a thread, and I'm scared to pull at it, afraid it'll all unravel. I've been imagining all the ways this could go down. Me asking her straight up, her denying it, or worse, confirming my worst fear. What would I do then? Could I forgive her? Could we work through it? The thought of losing her makes my chest tighten, but so does the thought of her being with someone else. I'm stuck, writing in this journal like some lovesick teenager, but I need to put thought to paper and figure this out. I need to know the truth, whatever it may be. Maybe tomorrow I'll find the courage to bring it up. Maybe I'll wait for more evidence. I don't know. But one thing is clear. I can't keep pretending everything is okay when it feels like my world is crumbling around me. I feel like my life's been flipped upside down, and I'm just trying to find a way to keep my balance. Ashley's distance is eating away at me, and every time I look at her, I can't help but wonder what's going on in her head. The thing is, it's not just her anymore. There's someone else in this story, and it's messing with me in ways I didn't expect. Her name is Kelly. Kelly and I have known each other since college. We've always had this easy friendship. No drama, no expectations, just good vibes. She's been married for years now, with 2 adorable 5-year-old twin daughters and a 2-year-old son. Kelly is such an amazing woman. I figured she would have the perfect marriage. But lately, things have been rough for her too. Her husband, James, has been distant, secretive. It's almost eerie how similar our situations are. We've been leaning on each other a lot lately, talking through our frustrations, trying to make sense of what's happening in our lives. I don't even know how it started, but we found ourselves spending more time together, especially after I told her what was going on with Ashley. It felt good to talk to someone who gets it, someone who's going through the same things I am. It's like she knows exactly what to say, exactly when to just listen. Sometimes, I don't even have to say anything. We just sit in silence, understanding without words. But there's a problem, a big one. The more time we spend together, the more I realize that I'm starting to feel something for her. And I can tell she's feeling it too. It's like there's this unspoken connection between us, this electric tension that's getting harder to ignore. We haven't crossed any lines, no flirting, no lingering touches, but it's there. I can feel it, and I know she can too. It's crazy because I'm still trying to figure out what's happening with Ashley, and here I am, developing feelings for someone else. I hate myself for it. I love Ashley, at least I think I still do. But Kelly, she's been my rock through all of this. And now, I'm starting to wonder if there's more to our friendship than I ever allowed myself to see before. But what does that say about me? Am I just as bad as I'm suspecting Ashley to be? Or is this just my heart looking for comfort in the wrong places? I don't want to hurt Kelly. I don't want to hurt Ashley either, despite everything. I feel torn between the woman I've loved for years and the one who's been there for me when I needed someone the most. Kelly and I talked the other day, and I could tell we were both holding back. She mentioned how it feels like she's losing herself in the middle of her marriage, falling apart. I didn't say it out loud, but I knew exactly what she meant. I feel like I'm losing myself too. We both laughed, trying to shake off the heaviness, but it didn't really work. We're both too aware of what's happening. I need to figure out what's real, what's worth fighting for. But I'm scared that if I keep letting things drift the way they are, I'll end up losing both of them, Ashley and Kelly, and maybe myself in the process too. I don't know what the right move is here. All I know is that this journal is the only place I can get it all out without hurting anyone else. But even writing it down doesn't make it any easier. It just makes it all feel more real. These past few weeks have felt like a storm that won't let up. Every day, I wake up with this knot in my stomach, wondering what's going to happen next. But I think I finally reached a decision. Kelly and I talked again last night. I mean, really talked. She's been my lifeline through all of this. But we both know there's something growing between us, something neither of us is ready to admit out loud. But last night, she made it clear where she stands. She told me that as much as she's hurting, as much as her marriage feels like it's falling apart, she can't disrespect the vows she took with her husband. She said she's committed to seeing things through, to trying to work it out, even if it feels hopeless at times. I respect the hell out of her for that. It takes strength to stand by your commitments, especially when things get messy. But hearing her say that, it hit me hard. I realized I've been holding on to this idea that maybe, just maybe, if things don't work out with Ashley, there might be something with Kelly. But that's not fair to her, or to myself. I don't want to be the guy who runs from one broken relationship to another, trying to fill a void that I haven't even fully faced yet. Kelly doesn't want to cross any lines, and honestly, I don't want to put her in that position either. Our friendship has become way too important to me, and I don't want to risk losing that. I need her in my life, even if it's just as a friend. And that means I have to deal with my situation with Ashley head on, without leaning on Kelly as some kind of backup plan. So, I've made up my mind. I'm going to confront Ashley. I can't keep living in this uncertainty, wondering if she's being unfaithful, if everything we've built is crumbling behind my back. I need answers, and I need them now. It's not going to be easy, and honestly, I'm terrified of what I might find out. But I can't keep avoiding it. I owe it to myself to know the truth, and I owe it to her to give her the chance to be honest with me. I'm not sure how it's going to go. Maybe she'll deny everything. Maybe she'll come clean. Maybe this will be the end of us. Or maybe we'll find a way to rebuild. I don't know. But what I do know is that I can't keep living in limbo, caught between suspicion and denial. It's time to face whatever's coming, for better or worse. And as for Kelly, I'll be there for her, just like she's been there for me. But I'll respect her boundaries, and I'll keep my feelings in check. I have to. She deserves that, and so do I. This whole mess has taught me a lot about what I really want and what I'm willing to fight for. It's time to stop running from the truth and start facing it head on. Whatever happens next, at least I'll know I did everything I could to find the truth and protect the people who matter most to me, even if it means letting go of the comfort I've found in someone else's arms. Devastated and confused, Ryan. Dear Journal, I'm sitting here trying to figure out the impossible. How do I even fix my lips to tell my wife that my girlfriend is pregnant? Let's start from the beginning. I'm not a bad guy. Trust me, I'm not. Yes, I've made some horrible mistakes. Decisions I would do anything to take back. But it's too late, the cards have been dealt, and now it's time for me to play the hand I was given by the choices I chose to make. It's strange, writing this down. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who needed to sort through his thoughts in a journal. But here I am. If I don't get this out, it'll eat me alive. First off, again, I'm not a bad guy. Or maybe I'm just trying to convince myself that I'm not. I've never seen myself that way. I'm a husband, a father, a provider. I love my wife Kelly, and our kids more than anything in this world. Twin girls who light up the room with their laughter, and a little boy who's just starting to say Dada with that little toothy grin of his. How could I ever be a bad guy when I have been blessed with so much good? I'm so grateful. But I've made some horrible decisions. Real bad ones. Kelly, she's amazing. Always has been. Even when I feel like I'm drowning in the responsibilities of being a husband and a father, she's there. But that's just it, isn't it? The pressure. The need to be the perfect husband. The father I never had. My old man wasn't around much. He always had excuses. Work, stress, whatever. But that won't be me. I swore I'd be different. Better. I just didn't realize how heavy that promise would get. That's where Ashley comes in. She's a coworker, and at first, it was nothing serious. Just someone to talk to during breaks. Someone who could relate to the stress at work. We'd laugh about the same annoying clients. Complain about the boss's ridiculous demands. It was innocent, harmless. But then something shifted. It wasn't sudden, more like a slow burn, a flame I didn't even know was there until it got too bright to ignore. I started looking forward to seeing her, to hear her voice, catching that little smile she gives when I say something funny. And she understood me, in a way that made me feel seen, less like a guy barely keeping his head above water. I'd catch myself thinking about her on the drive home, and that's when I knew I was in trouble. It wasn't until the office Christmas party that things really spiraled. Kelly wasn't supposed to come. She was supposed to stay home with the twins. The babysitter had canceled. I orchestrated that perfectly, so I had thought. But she surprised me, sitting there with that she knows everything attitude, the one she gets with me and the children when she already knows the truth but wants us to come clean about it first. For a split second, seeing her there made me feel like a child caught doing something wrong by his mother. She was angry, but for what she couldn't have known what was going on and how quickly my feelings were developing for Ashley. How could she know when I barely could wrap my head around it? A part of me wanted to just go back in time and pretend none of this was happening. That I didn't lie to Kelly to be there that night alone with Ashley. I wanted to pretend like I wasn't becoming this person I didn't want to see in the mirror. I wasn't betraying my wife's trust. I was still the man Kelly married. But then my eyes drifted to Ashley, who was already looking at me, and I knew I couldn't keep pretending. Too many things had already taken place that I couldn't pretend didn't. After the party, something broke inside me. I started picking arguments with Kelly over the smallest things that didn't even matter. It gave me a reason to leave the house, to get away from the guilt and the weight of my own expectations. I'd tell her I needed to clear my head, go for a drive. But really, I was driving to Ashley's, to her smile, her laughter, the way she made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in so long. And now, here I am, a man with a beautiful wife at home and 3 amazing kids who depend on me. And here I am, sneaking out to be with another woman. I hate myself for it. The lies I tell Kelly, the disappointment I know is coming. But there's something about Ashley I can't shake. She ignites something inside me, something I've been missing for a long time. I don't know what that says about me, but I know it can't be good. I don't want to be the bad guy, but I think I'm becoming him. My life feels like it's spiraling out of control, and I don't know how to stop it. Today was supposed to be just another workday, another routine of meetings and tasks I could go through on autopilot. But nothing is routine anymore, is it? Not since Ashley came into my life. It started when I noticed Ashley wasn't herself this morning. She looked pale, tired, more so than usual. I asked if she was okay, and she brushed it off. Said she hadn't eaten breakfast, that she was fine. But I could tell something was off. Then just before lunch, she collapsed. Right there in the office. Panic hit me like a freight train. I didn't think, just acted. I scooped her up and rushed her to the hospital, not caring who saw us or what they thought. All I could think about was making sure she was okay. I couldn't let anything happen to her. Not Ashley. We sat in that sterile, cold hospital room for what felt like hours, waiting for the doctor. Ashley was quiet. Her face drained of color, and I could see the fear in her eyes. I tried to comfort her, hold her hand, tell her everything would be all right. But the truth was, I was terrified too. Terrified of what was happening, of what might come next. And then the doctor walked in, his expression calm, professional. I thought he was going to tell us she was just dehydrated, that she needed to eat better, take better care of herself. But instead, he dropped a bomb I wasn't prepared for. Ashley was pregnant. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Pregnant. I looked at her, and she looked at me. And in that moment, everything changed. I saw the tears welling up in her eyes, the way her hands started to shake, and I knew she was thinking the same thing I was. Ryan, her boyfriend, he'd been in California for a month when this happened. The timing didn't add up for it to be his. It had to be mine. I felt like the walls were closing in on me, like I couldn't breathe. This wasn't supposed to happen. None of this was supposed to happen. But I knew, deep down, that this was my fault. That one night, too many drinks, too much frustration. We both let things go too far. We were both upset, angry, and looking for comfort in all the wrong places. And now, here we are, facing the consequences of our own selfish actions. Ashley didn't say anything after the doctor left, and neither did I. We just sat there in silence, the weight of what we'd done pressing down on us. I'm torn between wanting to be there for her, to support her through this, and the crushing guilt of knowing I have a wife at home with 3 young children, who trusts me, who has no idea what I've done. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm being pulled in 2 different directions, and no matter which way I go, I'm going to hurt someone. Ashley didn't ask for this, and neither did Kelly. But I'm the one who made this mess, and now I have to figure out how to clean it up. Do I tell Kelly the truth? Destroy our family? The life we've built together? Or do I try to keep this secret, to protect her from the pain of knowing? But then what about Ashley? She's carrying my child, our child, and I can't just abandon her. I don't want to abandon her. But I also don't want to lose Kelly, lose my kids, lose everything. How did it get this far? How did I let it get this far? I don't have any answers. All I have are these feelings of guilt, shame, and confusion. I've made some bad decisions, but this is the worst one yet, and I'm not sure how to make it right, or if I even can. Regretfully, James, dear journal, only a few days have passed, and I told her. I told Kelly. I didn't plan it. I thought I could keep it to myself just a little while longer, hide the truth to protect her from the pain. But I realized there was no protecting her. Not really. She deserved to know. I owed her that much, at least. I couldn't live with the guilt any longer. It was eating me alive, tearing me apart from the inside out. And more than anything, I couldn't keep lying to the woman I loved. So last night, after the kids were asleep and the house was quiet, I told her everything. I told her about Ashley, about that night, about the pregnancy. I told her how sorry I was, how I never meant for any of this to happen. I tried to explain, but there were no excuses, no justifications that could soften the blow. The look on her face, I'll never forget it. It was like watching her heart break in real time. Her eyes filled with tears, and she didn't say anything at first. Just looked at me, like she didn't recognize the man standing in front of her, like I was a stranger. And in that moment, I hated myself more than I ever thought possible. It hurt so much I could barely breathe. Seeing the pain I'd caused her, knowing that I'd destroyed the trust we'd built, the life we'd made together. It felt like someone had driven a knife into my chest and twisted it. I wanted to reach out to her, to hold her, to tell her it would be okay. But I knew it wouldn't be. I knew I'd done something that couldn't be undone. She asked me how long it had been going on, and I told her the truth. Just that one night, but that was enough. She didn't care about the details, about the reasons. All she could see was the betrayal. The fact that I'd gone to someone else when I should have been with her. The fact that I created a child with another woman. She cried, and I felt so helpless, so powerless to make it right. All I could do was sit there, feeling the weight of what I'd done crushing me. I tried to apologize, but the words felt empty, meaningless. How do you apologize for something like this? How do you ask for forgiveness when you've done the unforgivable? She didn't yell, didn't scream. That almost made it worse. The silence. The way she looked at me like she didn't know who I was anymore. Like she couldn't even stand to be in the same room as me. I don't blame her. I don't deserve her forgiveness, and I don't expect it. She finally told me she needed time, space to think. She went to stay at her sister's with the kids, and now the house feels empty, quiet in a way that's unbearable. I'm here alone with my thoughts, with the reality of what I've done, and all I can think about is how I've ruined everything, how I've hurt the person I love most in this world. I don't know what will happen next. I don't know if she'll ever be able to forgive me, or if I'll ever be able to forgive myself. But I do know that I can't keep running from the truth, from the consequences of my actions. I have to face them, no matter how much it hurts. I don't know if we'll make it through this. I don't know if she'll want me back, or if I even deserve that chance. But I had to tell her. I had to come clean, because she deserved the truth. And now, I have to live with the fallout. I just wish I could take it all back. But I can't. And now, I have to live with that. Regretfully, James.
Dear Journal, well, I did it. I finally confronted Ashley, and it didn't go at all how I thought it would. I guess it never does it? We sat down last night and I just laid it all out there. I told her I'd noticed the changes, the distance, the late nights, and the texts. I told her I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine when I knew deep down it wasn't. She didn't try to deny it, which almost made it worse. The look on her face. It was like she'd been waiting for this conversation, dreading it, but also relieved that it was finally happening. Then she dropped the bombshell. She's pregnant. I remember just staring at her, trying to process what she was saying. I didn't know whether to feel happy or devastated, so I asked her the question that had been gnawing at my insides. Is it mine? She didn't say anything for the longest time, and that silence told me everything I needed to know before she even opened her mouth. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. No, it's not. Turns out, while I was in California for that month, helping my mom recover from her surgery, Ashley, she was seeing someone else. She said it wasn't planned, that it just happened, that she was lonely and confused. But the excuses didn't matter. The fact was, she had been unfaithful, and now she was carrying another man's child. I didn't lose it. I thought I might, but there was this strange calm that came over me instead. I asked her who the father was, and she told me it was a guy named JJ she met at work. They'd been seeing each other off and on for a while now. She stated, it wasn't serious at first, just something to fill the void while I was gone back and forth to California to check on my family. But now, with a baby on the way, it was more than that. She was honest, at least. I'll give her that. But knowing the truth didn't make it hurt any less. It felt like someone had taken a sledgehammer to everything we'd built over the years and smashed it into pieces. I told her it was over. I couldn't be with someone who betrayed me like that, who could so easily throw away what we had for something so fleeting. She cried. I cried. There were so many emotions swirling between us, but the one thing that stood out was the overwhelming sense of finality. There was no going back from this. I told her I wished her the best, that I hoped she found happiness. But it couldn't be with me. Not anymore. I walked out, and that was it. 8 years, gone in a single conversation. It's strange to think about it now, sitting here alone. I feel numb, like I'm still in shock. I thought confronting her would bring closure, but instead, It's left me with a whole new set of wounds to heal. But maybe this is for the best. At least now I know the truth. There's no more wondering, no more suspicion gnawing at my thoughts. It's over. I can move on, even if it hurts like hell right now. As for Kelly, I haven't told her yet. I'm not sure how to bring it up, or if I should. She's dealing with enough in her own life, and I don't want to drag her into my mess. I've lost a lot in the past few days, but maybe, just maybe, I've gained something too. A clearer picture of who I am and what I'm willing to accept in my life. It's going to be a long road to recovery, but at least I'm on it now. I'm finally facing the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Finally, Ryan. Dear Journal, it's only been a few hours, and just when I thought things couldn't get any crazier, life throws me another curveball. I was sitting here, trying to process everything that just happened, when my phone rang. It was Kelly. She sounded off, like she was holding back tears but trying to keep it together. I knew something was wrong, but I wasn't prepared for what she was about to tell me. She said she finally got the confirmation she'd been dreading. James, her husband, has been having an affair. And not just with anyone, but with a co-worker. My heart sank as she spoke, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and sadness. Up until now, Kelly referred to this woman only as her husband's co-worker. But then she said the name of the woman, and it felt like the world stopped spinning for a moment. Ashley. It was like a switch flipped in my brain, and everything suddenly clicked into place. I felt this cold realization wash over me, connecting all the dots that had been right in front of me, but I'd been too blind, or maybe too unwilling to see. I asked Kelly, barely able to get the words out. Did you say her name is Ashley? Your husband's co-worker? There was a long pause on the other end of the line, and then she confirmed it. That's when I knew. Ashley, my Ashley, and James, Kelly Johnson's husband known to Ash as JJ. They were the ones having an affair. And now, she's pregnant with his child. I could barely breathe as I told Kelly everything. The pregnancy, how Ashley admitted the baby wasn't mine, how she confessed to the affair while I was away. Kelly went silent for what felt like forever. When she finally spoke, her voice was hollow, like she was struggling to process the reality of it all, just like I was. We sat there on the phone, neither of us knowing what to say. What can you say when the people you trusted most betray you in the most hurtful way possible? We were both living the same nightmare, our lives shattered by the same two people. The weight of it all was almost too much to bear. Kelly broke down, and I felt my own tears welling up. There was no anger in that moment, no rage, just a deep, shared sorrow for everything we'd lost, for the love we'd both believed in, for the relationships we'd invested so much in, only to have them destroyed by the people we thought we knew best. I tried to comfort her, telling her we'd get through this together, that we'd find a way to pick up the pieces and move forward. But even as I said it, I knew how hollow the words sounded. How do you move on from something like this? How do you rebuild when everything you thought was solid turns out to be a lie? We talked for a while longer, but it was more about just being there for each other than finding any solutions. There aren't any easy answers here, no quick fixes. We're both facing a long, hard road ahead, and the only thing we can do now is try to support each other through it. After we hung up, I sat here for a long time, staring at the wall, trying to make sense of it all. I'm writing here in my journal, note to pad, trying to make sense of it all. But there's no making sense of something this twisted. I feel like my life has been completely upended, and I'm not sure where to go from here. But one thing I do know is that I'm done with Ashley. Whatever love I had for her is gone, replaced by a deep sense of betrayal that I don't think I'll ever be able to shake. And as for Kelly, I don't know what the future holds for us. Right now, we're both too raw, too hurt to think about anything beyond getting through the next day. I never imagined my life would turn out like this. But I guess that's the thing about life. It never goes the way you plan. All I can do now is take it one day at a time, put my trust in God, and pray for true healing, and hope that somewhere down the line, I'll find a way to trust again. But for now, it's just about surviving this heartbreak, leaning on God and the only other person who truly understands what I'm going through, Kelly. And maybe, in that shared pain, we'll find the strength to move forward, even if it means doing it alone. At last, Ryan.
Dear Diary, I'm sitting here on my bed, staring at a blank page, trying to find the words to make sense of what I've done. Or maybe it's more about making sense of what I feel. I never thought I'd be in this position, feeling torn between two people. And yet, here I am. It all started so innocently. Ryan was in California again, visiting his family. He does that a lot, and I've always understood. We've been together for 8 years, and it's always been this way. I love Ryan. I really do. But sometimes it feels like he's living 2 lives, one with me and one with them. And when he's gone, I'm left here, alone with too much time to think. That's when I started spending more time with JJ at work. JJ was charming, in that laid-back kind of way, and always seemed to know how to make me laugh when I needed it most. At first, it was just something to do to pass the time. I told myself it was harmless, a little flirting, a way to feel less lonely. It's not like we were doing anything wrong, right? I noticed I laughed a bit louder with him. My days seemed shorter, and work, which had always been just work, felt lighter. I remember telling myself, it's just for fun. Ryan is miles away, and it's not like he'll know. But as days morphed into weeks, the gravity of my denial grew heavier. This harmless flirting wasn't so harmless anymore. JJ wasn't just a distraction. I was starting to crave his presence, his laugh, the way he said my name as if it was a melody. I don't even know when it happened exactly. Maybe it was the day he brought me my favorite latte without asking, or the time he listened to me vent about how much I missed Ryan without judging or trying to fix it. I felt seen in a way I hadn't in a while, and that scared me. I remember the first time I caught myself looking forward to seeing JJ a little more than I should have. The guilt started to gnaw at me, a relentless reminder of the betrayal I was nurturing. It wasn't physical, no, but emotionally. I was inching away from Ryan. My shame hit me like a wave, but I pushed it down. It's just a crush, I told myself. Everyone has them. It doesn't mean anything. But deep down, I knew that was a lie. The thrill of this new friendship blurred the lines I had promised never to cross. The flirting became more frequent, more intense. I knew I should pull back, set some boundaries, but every time I tried, I found myself drawn to him even more. It wasn't just the physical attraction, though there was plenty of that. It was the way he made me feel alive, like I was someone worth paying attention to. I didn't realize how much I'd been missing that until JJ showed up in my life. I didn't think it would go this far. I didn't think I'd start comparing him to Ryan, wondering why things felt so easy with JJ and so complicated with Ryan. I didn't think I'd start making excuses to stay late at work or accidentally run into JJ outside the office. And I certainly didn't think I'd start questioning everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty. Now here I am. My heart has entangled itself with someone it shouldn't have. I wish I could go back to the beginning, before any of this happened. Before I let myself get too close, too attached. It was 2 years ago, at our office Christmas party. I remember it so clearly, like a scene from a movie that keeps playing in my head on repeat. I was looking forward to the party, excited to see JJ outside of work, where we could maybe just be ourselves without the pretense of professionalism. I knew it was dangerous territory, but I didn't care. Back then, I still convinced myself it was all just innocent fun, but then she walked in, his wife. I didn't even know he was married. How could I have been so clueless, so stupid? One look at her, and I knew who she was, even before he introduced us. She was beautiful, in that classic, effortless way that made me feel small and insignificant. But it wasn't her beauty that hit me the hardest. It was the fact that she existed at all. I should have been angry at JJ for not telling me. I was, in a way, but mostly I felt this overwhelming wave of guilt wash over me. What was I doing, getting close to another woman's husband? I didn't sign up for that. I didn't want to be that person, but there I was, standing there with a fake smile plastered on my face, trying to keep it together, while my heart felt like it was being ripped apart. The rest of the night was a blur. I don't remember much after meeting her, except for the gnawing feeling in my gut and the way I couldn't shake the image of them together out of my head. When I saw them talking and leaving the party together, it felt like a dagger to my chest. I knew I had no right to feel that way. She was his wife, not me, but it didn't stop the hurt. I walked away from that party feeling emotionally torn, like I was caught in a web I didn't know how to escape. I told myself I had to pull back, to put some distance between us, but every time I tried, something would pull me back in. It was like this invisible force drawing us closer, and maybe that was just the excuse we were both using. The situation with our respective partners, the fact that Ryan was always away, and that JJ was tied up in a marriage that seemed more like an obligation than a partnership, became the perfect backdrop for whatever it was we had going on. We never talked about it, never acknowledged the elephant in the room, but it was there, lurking in the shadows of every conversation, every lingering glance. I wish I could say I was strong enough to walk away, but the truth is, I wasn't. I let myself fall deeper, convincing myself that it was okay because we were both in complicated situations. But deep down, I knew it was wrong. I knew that every moment I spent with JJ was a betrayal, not just to Ryan, but to his wife, to his children, and even to myself. Now, I'm left with this mess of emotions, trying to figure out how I got here and how to get out. I don't know what's worse, the guilt of betraying Ryan, the anger at JJ for not being honest with me from the start, or the sadness of realizing that I've become someone I don't even recognize. I keep telling myself that I'll put an end to it, that I'll finally let go, because I can't keep living like this, torn between what's right and what feels good in the moment. I owe it to myself and to everyone involved to finally make a decision, no matter how painful it might be. Maybe tomorrow I'll find the strength to do what I know needs to be done. But tonight, all I can do is write and hope that somehow, in the midst of all this chaos, I'll find some clarity. Feeling guilty, Ashley. Dear Diary, another day has passed, and I wish I could go back to the beginning, before any of this happened, before I let myself get too close, too attached, but I can't, and now I have to face the consequences of my actions, whatever they may be. I don't even know where to start. I feel like my world's been flipped upside down, and the only person I can talk to is you, Diary. Today was a blur, a whirlwind that ended with me here, sitting in the quiet, thinking about a new life that's barely begun, inside me. I never thought I'd be writing these words. I passed out at work today. I remember feeling dizzy, and then James was there, his hands on my shoulders, looking at me with that worried look he gets sometimes. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in the hospital bed, and he was by my side. And then, the doctor told us that I'm pregnant. Pregnant. With James's baby. As I lay there, I felt so torn. I'm pregnant. This is my first child, my own little heartbeat growing. But instead of pure joy, I feel like I'm caught between happiness and the deepest guilt I've ever known. This baby deserves everything good and pure, but its father, he belongs to another woman, a woman he loves, a woman he's built a life with. How could I be so selfish? And then there's Ryan, sweet, loving Ryan. My heart aches when I think of him. When he came to me, his voice shook as he asked if the baby was his. I couldn't even look him in the eyes. The moment he heard the truth, it was like something inside him just broke. And I was the one who shattered him. Ryan was my first love, the man who taught me how to care so deeply. And here I am, the reason he's hurting. I told him the truth because he deserves it, but it hurts so much to see the pain in his eyes. I pray every day that he'll find peace, that somehow he'll be able to forgive me. I messed up. I know that. I let my heart lead me somewhere it shouldn't have gone, and now I'm paying the price. I've lost Ryan, lost the love we had, and all because I couldn't let go of my feelings for James. And James, he may have feelings for me, but he's still in love with his wife. He's still committed to his family, no matter what's happened between us. I can't hold on to any hope that he'll choose me. And honestly, I don't want that anymore. I want him to be happy. I pray he can mend his marriage and that he and his wife find a way to heal. They both deserve that. They deserve peace, and I hope they can find it, with God's help. As for me, I have to be strong. I need to work on myself, to be the mother that God wants me to be for this little one. I'm stepping into this alone, but I'll do whatever it takes to be the best mom I can be. I'll love this child with everything I have, and I'll make sure that he or she knows they are loved. I ensure they know God, self-love, and stability, no matter what it takes. I pray that co-parenting with James will go smoothly. I want my child to grow up knowing their siblings, to have a bond with them that's full of love, even if our situation is complicated. I know it will take time. Tonight, I just want to close my eyes and let this all sink in. I'm carrying a new life, and I've got a long road ahead of me, but I'll make it for my baby. This isn't how I pictured my life, but it's the life I've got now, and I'll do my best to make it a good one, for both of us. Always, Ashley.
Dear Journal, it's been a little over a month since I told Kelly the truth. A month of living in the aftermath of my choices, trying to pick up the pieces of the life I shattered. It's strange to think about how quickly everything changed, how one decision can alter the course of your entire life. Kelly has been staying with her sister this whole time. We've talked a few times, mostly about the kids, trying to keep things as normal as possible for them. But every conversation is heavy, filled with the weight of what I've done. She hasn't asked about Ashley, and I haven't volunteered any information. It's like there's an unspoken agreement between us. Certain things are just too painful to discuss right now. As for Ashley, things have been complicated to say the least. After I told Kelly, I knew I had to figure out what to do about Ashley and the baby. We've had some difficult conversations, trying to decide what's best for everyone involved. Ashley was shocked when I told her I'd come clean to Kelly. I think part of her expected me to keep it all hidden, to continue living a double life. But I couldn't do that anymore. Ashley's boyfriend Ryan found out too. She told him the truth, and as expected, it didn't go well. He ended things with her, said he couldn't be with someone who'd betrayed him like that. So now Ashley is dealing with her own fallout, her own pain, and she's going through it alone, except for me. We've decided to co-parent the baby. I would never turn my back on my own child. Ashley will not have to raise the baby on her own. We've talked about what that will look like, how we'll navigate this new reality. It's not going to be easy, but I'm committed to being there for the baby, to doing right by my child. No matter how much I've messed up, I know I have to. I want to be responsible and be a father to all my children. But that doesn't make things any less complicated with Kelly. She's still figuring out what she wants to do. I can see the pain in her eyes every time we meet, the struggle she's going through. I've offered to go to counseling, to do whatever it takes to try to repair the damage I've caused. She hasn't decided yet if she wants to give us another chance. I can't blame her. I've put her through so much, and it's going to take a lot more than words to heal the wounds I've caused. For now, we're taking things one day at a time. I'm trying to be the best father I can be to our kids. I'm trying to prove to Kelly that I'm committed to making things right, even if I don't know what that looks like yet. Life isn't perfect. Far from it. I've made mistakes, huge ones, and now I'm living with the consequences. But I'm also trying to learn from them, to be better, to grow. I don't know what the future holds for me, for Kelly, for Ashley, or for our children. But I do know that I have to face it head on, to deal with whatever comes next, no matter how difficult that might be. It's been a long road, and it's far from over, but I'm trying. I'm trying to do the right thing, even if I didn't before. And maybe, just maybe, that will be enough to find some kind of peace in all of this. Until next time, James.